More reactions trailing the new policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And today, in the House of Representatives, the members of the Grain Chambers asked the CBN to suspend the new policy on the weekly cash withdrawal limit placed on the individuals and corporate entities. The lawmakers also summoned the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, over the new policy scheduled to take effect from the 9th of January 2023. The resolution was passed during a plenary session following the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by a lawmaker from Jigawa, Honorable Aliyu Magaji. I'd like you to listen to part of the conversation and the motion as debated on the floor of the Green Chambers earlier today.
That I read the motion on, it bothers whoever is sitting in this place. Because most of them are from rural areas. Everything is being done in naira and cash. And somebody will wake up, it's like he owns this country, and make a policy that will start tomorrow. No consultation. People are forgetting that 80 or 90% of the people are not in rural areas. So we must do something to save the situation. If there is enough time, there are enough banks, there is enough facilities, why not? You can't go to London and start carrying cash around. But they have all the facilities required. I beg on my colleagues to support this one so that at least this thing should be resent.
Part of the problem that is enforcing kidnapping and all vices that are very inimical today, that you go to community, they will ask them to contribute money, is because there is cash everywhere. If you want to stop banditry, make it impossible for them to have cash.
So you're speaking against the motion?
There shouldn't be cash available for them.
So the question is that the CBN governor will appear before this honorable house on Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Let's give you a sense of what this means. In some sense, it does mean that what the central bank is saying is that there is a limit of cash that you can get. If you run a company as a corporate organization, there is a limit that you can cash that you can have. If you as an individual, there's a limit of the cash that you can have. So take a look at what this means. Over-the-counter cash withdrawal by individuals and organizations per week it's been reduced to a maximum of 100,000 naira. So as individual, you cannot have more than 100,000 naira. And as a corporate organization, you can have more than 500,000 naira. Let's take a further look. Now, there is a special cash withdrawal which cannot exceed 5 million and 10 million for individuals and organizations respectively. So 5 million naira for individuals, 10 million naira for organizations for the special cash in code. Individuals will require to pay a processing fee. If you decide to then go to the bank and process this cash, you'll be required to pay a processing fee of 5% for cash withdrawals above the prescribed limits, while organization will pay 10%. For example, if it is 500,000 or 10 million naira or 500,000 naira, you have to pay 10% of that 500,000 naira. So for cash withdrawals above the specified limit, banks are required to do due diligence and request documents such as the bank verification number of the payee and valid means of identification of the payee, among others. Now, part of this policy also means that only naira denominations of 200 naira and below will be available at ATMs. So there won't be 500 naira or 1,000 naira in the ATM machines. Now, maximum withdrawal from the point of sale, those POS and the terminals that you use will not be more than 20,000 naira daily. And once a month, the CBN says it will allow individuals and organizations to make cash withdrawals above the prescribed limits if it is required for legitimate purpose. Now, third-party checks above 50,000 naira will not be eligible for payment over the counter. The existing limit of 10 million naira on clearing checks still subsists. Cash withdrawals via automated teller machine is limited to a maximum of 20,000 naira daily, while the weekly limit is 100,000 naira. How does this affect you? If you are a trader in Onitsha or in Aba, or in Oshodi, or in Alaba Market in Lagos, or in fact, even in Yanya area of Abuja here, what does it mean for you? Or perhaps you are that man that sells cow to, this is the festive season. Well, how does this affect you? Do your customers pay you in cash? Do you find it easy to do these things? This is all about you as a citizen of Nigeria. So let's get to the bottom of it. Why are the lawmakers insistent on this policy? I'm being joined by a member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Mark Igbila. He was one of those who debated that motion on the floor today. Thank you so much, Honorable, for coming tonight.
Good evening, Sean. Thank you very much for having me.
I saw that it was not unanimous for the lawmakers to go against the policy. For example, the leader of the minority in the House says, look, it is a good policy, and that for security reasons, the CBN should go ahead with the policy. But the House still went ahead to summon the CBN governor, now also ordering that it should appear before the House.
Okay, so yes, like you rightly pointed out, it was not unanimous. Sorry, there were objections to our motion to suspend. Let me use that word. But the unanimous decision was in support of the suspension of the policy. And here is the reason why, Sean. As much as we appreciate certain reasons why people allege, because we have not been consulted, we have not been carried along, so we don't even understand the reasons the CBN is adducing for that. So, but fundamentally, we have come to realize this is, in our own opinion, a draconian policy. It's like taking a hammer to kill a fly. We realize that it is not to the advantage of our people who are subsistence farmers, who are petty traders, who transact daily with cash. So if there is any intended purpose for this, the CBN is not a government on its own. So they need to realize that constitutionally, statutorily, and this is the point of order that I raised on the floor, Section 8, subsection 4 requires that the CBN governor semi-annually, that is twice a year, he shall, that's what that law says, he shall, it's not an option, he shall address, and if you permit me to, I might read it, he shall, let me just read what the law says so that, Nigerians will be properly, and the CBN governor himself, if he's listening, will be properly advised, because he is going against the provisions of the law. It says the governor shall appear before the National Assembly at semi-annual hearings as specified in subsection 5 regarding efforts, activities, objectives, and plans of the board with monetary policy and economic development and prospects for the future described in the report required in subsection 5. Now, in subsection 5, the governor shall from time to time make a formal report and presentation on the activities of the bank and the performance of the economy to the relevant committees of the National Assembly.
There is a proviso that if it's invited, or if the CBN does not just unilaterally work into the National Assembly, does it? There's a proviso before that act that's a section that you are reading in the CBN
No, so there's no proviso about that. It's a requirement. It's a statute. So it is a requirement. It's an obligation.
But there will be a precedent upon which it will appear. You have to be invited, or is there a time that has been set in the year?
Now, when the law makes these kind of provisions, a law-abiding citizen who is complying with the law will approach that institution. The law says this is what I should do. Give me a time when I can approach you. The same way Mr. President approaches the National Assembly to bring his budget to the floor. We don't have to invite him. He knows that there are statutory provisions. He knows the financial year.
Let's go back to this.
So,
you know, Honorable, you know the reason why we are having this conversation? We have actually since been joined by a professor of economics, Professor Frank Ozo. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming tonight. We need your expertise also.
Pleasure.
Not only we're not talking politics, we're also talking about what this means for the average Nigerians. Honorable, I was going to say the reason why we're having this conversation because it affects the Nigerian people. And
that's
our objective.
That is our objective.
And for me, is not the big men and the big women of this country, but how the livelihood of an average Nigerian will be affected. That is what concerns us at this moment that we're speaking. Now, the big question is, first and foremost, let me ask some very quick questions before I allow Prof to come in. You are weighing in now not because of the provision of the law, but because you were not consulted before this policy was made.
Okay, now we're weighing in because it is something that concerns the ordinary Nigerian citizen. And as representatives of the Nigerian citizen, it behoves on us to ensure that the CBN is held accountable. And that is why we raise this issue, to show that the CBN has not been complying with the provisions that the crafters of our law saw was in the best interest of the country, because the CBN has been operating as if it is a government on its own. It is supposed to come and consult with the National Assembly. These are our plans. Then we can also advise and say, look, in the interest of our people, we do not believe this should be the case. This is a statute. This is a requirement of law. And the CBN governor is obligated to adhere to the provision of the law, and he has not been doing that. We have interest rates being introduced arbitrarily without any concern to the effect it will have on the people. So
you think that this policy is anti-people?
Yes. Right. For some of us, that's what we believe. And Cheryl, let me just add very quickly so that we can discuss that alongside. Even in terms of the introduction of this currency, we do not know which budget the CBN used to produce these currency notes, because we did not approve it in our budget. We have not received a supplementary budget. And this is part of what I raised on the floor.
Does the CBN need to consult the National Assembly?
Naturally. They're spending money that has to do with...
I thought the law gives them the independence to make these kind of policies.
No, it doesn't. They're spending money. There's still money that is supposed to be in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the country. Accounted for and expended. So the provisions, the amounts they are expending exceed and are not part of what they are allowed to operate.
Does the National Assembly have the power to stop the CBN from carrying out a policy?
Well, it does statutorily, because...
So you can tell the CBN stop, and it will stop?
Well, let me put it this way. We have not been having the level of cooperation in terms of statutory constitutional provisions. So which is why I cannot categorically say this is the case. But based on provisions of the Constitution, it is in the interest of the CBN to heed to a resolution of the National Assembly, because that is the statutory power that we have.
Let me bring, let's look at it from the economics and aspects of it. Professor Frank Ozo is of the Department of Economics and Development Studies at the Federal University in Withdrawal. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof.
My pleasure.
Give us a sense of what is meant. This is the second policy that the CBN will be making in the last few weeks that will get the attention of the Nigerian people. Now, what do you make of this policy, first and foremost?
Thank you, Sean. The policy is highly inordinate. It's profoundly inordinate. Given the environment under which you are, it's highly inordinate. I think the CBN authority, the monetary authority, failed to do some empirical studies of what should be the quantum of cash required to sustain some critical given level of economic activities, both in the rural community and in the urban community. It is very, very critical. You must know it. It's just like they goofed on the cash reprinting of Naira, he just completely goofed.
It was a wrong policy too.
He goofed. Now, it's not that it's not done. You will do it, both in time, scope, and nature. He failed completely.
Why do you say so? First and foremost, Prof,
yes.
And I've shown Nigerians what this means. It then means that as an individual, you have a maximum of 100,000 Naira limit per week and 500,000 Naira over the counter, 500,000 Naira for corporate organizations.
You are a Nigerian. You know what I'm saying. The CPI, Consumer Price Index, it is the index that studies the prices of goods and services you have in the... Now, you look at the primary activities those people conduct, both in the rural areas. Suppose, as I was coming here, I asked a simple question to the man who brought me, the driver. I said, suppose I'm sending my driver to travel on the road, and he goes on the way, the thing spoils. The vehicle breaks down. He gets to repair it. How does he get the money immediately to repair it? Where there are no POS. Even if you have POS, there is problem of electricity supply, and then he will tell you the thing is down because there's no electricity. Even in urban areas here, if you go to some of the filling stations, petrol pumps, what they tell you? Oh, our POS is down, we can't do anything. Do you have cash? Excuse me, how much is the price of fuel?
So this is anti-people.
Completely, because he didn't do the study well. Because before you go in the policy, it's just like my friend here is talking on the law. He didn't even look at the law. You see, let me tell you, the thing is not as he thinks it. We human beings, human factors are not cogs in the machine. You just press it, as this light in, as your light off, you just switch on the light, the thing comes up, you switch it off. That's the way Mefele is behaving. He doesn't even understand the rudiments of... See, monetary policy is an accommodating measure. It's not an autonomous measure. It's the finance side that is the autonomous measure. So you accommodate the activities. You accommodate the excesses of the financial sector. If there are budgetary deficits, then you use this to accommodate.
So, Professor, most of my viewers, those of them who respond to me immediately, that I feel most of them are not are very mathematically, unlearned like me. I'm not very savvy with mathematics and figures. Break it down for us, Prof.
Yes.
This policy, how does it affect my friend who is a vulcanizer at that junction, or my very good mechanic? How does it affect his job? Or the trader in Onisha market or Aba market, how does it affect them? They cannot withdraw more than 20,000 Naira per day. How does it affect him?
Now, suppose you're a woman in the village. You rear goats, traditional goats. You want to sell to get money for your family. Now you go to the market. You take your goat there. Your goat is how much? 25,000. A man comes. In that rural market, you start looking for a person who has POS and whose POS is working. Maybe you have the electricity to charge it, and again, it has the network. You see the coincidence of transactions. We are going back to the barter trading systems, because it's coincidence of you have to look for one who has POS.
You look at it, it does look to me like CBN wants to digitize the platform of transactions, which to me we are moving to the realm of the modern world. That's the next phase of life.
You are right. You can do that, but empirically, you see,
we have not gotten there yet.
See, the problem is this. You must have, that is what we call high-powered money. That is the base money that supports those other activities, whether you want to create credit or create money. You know, most of the activities will be based on what we call fiduciaries, trusts. You understand? Now, this digital money, is it not basically on fiduciary? What happened to the Quito? These electronic currencies, Quito currency, what happened recently to it? Do you know what happened to it?
There was a crash.
Thank you. Why would it? See, let me tell you, sincerely speaking, if you understand the function of money in circulation, you will understand there must be a backup. You don't have to issue, our central bank is issuing our money on fiat. There are no gold or dollars. You are backing the money, the quantum of money you are pushing in the system. So when it crashes, every person starts scrambling. Just the same thing that happened at cryptocurrency. But it crashed the man. So
do you think that this is political? Let me come back to the honorable. Do you think it's political in any way? Maybe because the election and they see the manner in which politicians are going and they want to curb, for example, the vote buying phenomenon.
Okay, yes, but very quickly, let me just refer to what Prof said with regards to even the e-naira. You know, this is a discussion for another time. That too, some of us have raised the issue, did not and does not have legislative backing. There's no legislature to guard it as is done in other climes.
Are you saying it's illegal?
It is illegal as far as I'm concerned. And that is something we're going to take up with regards to the provisions of the CBN's powers in that regard.
But there's a lot of trillion of naira that have gone through that platform already.
Well, these are the issues we're having in our country where the legal provisions of our statutes are not being adhered to. And that is why we in the National Assembly need to start to rise up to our oversight responsibilities. And that's what some of us are trying to do, to encourage Mr. Speaker, as he has always done, to espouse the importance of the legislature in the affairs of this country. Because the executive has been riding roughshod over the National Assembly, which is what, in the crafters of our Constitution, they put the National Assembly first before the executive, because we are the true representatives of the people. We are the watchdogs, and that has not been observed by the executive.
Honorable, just give me a moment.
Okay, yes.
Just give me a moment. Prof, give me a moment. We are also asking the Central Bank of Nigeria, beyond the statement that has been given out, can you come forward and explain this to the Nigerian people? This is a request, and this is an opportunity for you, an invitation for you to be able to speak to the Nigerian people and explain what these policies are. Let's wrap up quickly. Honorable, you were going to say whether this has some political angle to it.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. There are allegations in that regard that this policy is intended to try to curb vote buying, to try to curb the amount of money in circulation. But like the Prof was saying earlier, we don't expect the CBN to do the work of the EFCC. We do not expect him to carry monetary policy to try to control and curb issues that we have institutions to deal with. We think that he is going beyond, above and beyond his mandate. That is what some of us personally think. So whether or not there are, because we have not heard from the CBN governor. This is a draconian way in which it was implemented that we're complaining about. He didn't brief anybody. He just came and just put that.
He doesn't have to brief you anyways. Well, but it would be good to consult.
No, in statutorily, it says in the law.
Before he makes any policy?
Yes, it's supposed to. That's why I read the law. It says about even the plans they have. You're supposed to do it semi-annually to brief the National Assembly. That's what the law, the CBN Act.
So where do we go from here?
Well, we have moved the motion that they should suspend the implementation of this because we do not believe it's in the best interest of the people. And we want him to appear before us to explain to us why he has been going about the business of the CBN in this manner.
Prof, quickly, if you can summarize and let's wrap up. What will your final word be and the final thought be tonight about this policy? Where do we go from here?
What we should do, what the central bank should do, is to please know if you can do it now. Stop what you are doing. Find out what is the critical base money required to support the economic activities in the economy. What are the basic? There's a critical amount. Just like you need about a doctor may tell you need about 4 to 5 pints of blood for your body to function activity. In the same way, the high-powered money, you need a critical minimum base you support to support economic activity.
The inflow within the system.
Of course. Yeah. Now,
and if it's not there, there's a problem.
No, it's not. He didn't do that. There's no empirical study Emefiele has done to give us, okay, look at what the CPI is. Look at the transaction activities.
So from that January, if this policy goes ahead, there will be a problem.
If he has conducted the National Assembly, maybe these things would have been done. As he was rightly pointed out, they would have asked this question. So
there's a failure of consultation?
He didn't. You know, see, he thinks that he has the power. No, you don't have powers of expenditure. You have, we have budgetary system here in the system, you comply. Whatever, if you go through the budgetary system, otherwise you spend money the way you like, print and spend the way you like. Is it what you are calling the system to be? And now you don't know even what is causing inflation. The problem, he said, he blames, oh, we are going to curb inflation. Excuse me, your activity is not going to cause inflation, because majority of them in that place are looking at inflationary factor from the demand side. Therefore, the quantum of money in circulation must be curbed. But we know that inflation could be caused both cost push and demand pull inflation. Now, if the demand pull aspect is symptomatic in most cases, therefore, if you go by quantity to reduce the quantum of money, you'll be having problem. Mostly when the problem is coming from the cost side.
So invariably, the man needs to rethink this.
He needs to study the structure of the consumption.
We've sent out an invitation tonight for the CBN to be able to give Nigerians an explanation, because in the real sense of it, all of this institution are to serve the Nigerian people. I must sincerely thank you, gentlemen. Prof, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
Sharing your thought. Honorable, I appreciate your time
tonight. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.